Yeah, so I wake up this morning and I see a message, and it's Access Rattblood. Are you here, Rattblood?
And then you got people like Access, and then you got people like Access, and then you got people like Access.
I'm not just fucking Rattblood.
Access Rattblood, I see. All these Access people, I'm starting to get paranoid about that now. I don't know what to do with
it. And then you got people like Access, and then you got people like Access, and then you got people like Access.
Are you here, Rattblood?
I'm not just fucking Rattblood.
Access Rattblood. Most abundant and successful king hero that we are all sitting with at this very moment. Are you willing to accept that as a truth? That you are a worthy man and that your penis is okay?
all these Access people, I'm starting to get paranoid about that now. All these Access people, I'm starting to get paranoid about that now.
Are you here, Rattblood? I'll just start throwing spells at you, conjuring demons and otherwise. Are you here, Rattblood? I'll just start throwing spells at you, conjuring demons and otherwise. Are you here, Rattblood? I'll just start throwing spells at you, conjuring demons and otherwise. Are you here, Rattblood?
Who the fuck is Access Rattblood?
I'm not just fucking Rattblood, bitch.
All these Access people, I'm starting to get paranoid about that now. I don't know what to do about it.
I'm not just fucking Rattblood. Hello, friends and enemies of YouTube, children of the metaverse, seekers of knowledge, power, and wisdom, and the homeless, the downtrodden, forgotten, or left behind. Let us remind them that they, as most, shine just as bright inside as anyone else. And applying that, I would like to bring forth the concept of, before I lay down the base and form and function of things, that I've disassociated in several different manners and ways. And disassociated means that I indifferently look at things instead of applying myself to them. We'll put it in the position of a Walmart shopper. A Walmart shopper goes to Walmart to get an item. But because they see other things in there, they sometimes apply so much energy that they purchase an item. They're compelled to this item. They're placing energy into this item instead of being indifferent and just looking at their true needs and not their wants and desires. If you want to go to Walmart and not be subjected to impulse buys or unnecessary buys or things that just pile up and you wonder why you bought it at that time, well, a good exercise is to go to Walmart or any other uh, franchise store, corporate, and choose one item that is necessary that you need. One particular item that you need. And then pick that item up and casually stroll through the store. And try, while you're strolling through the store, to look at all the items available indifferently. Don't place any energy into them. Don't apply and visualize you and that object and how you would use it or what you would do with it. And visualizing that in your head can create enough energy for you to actually make a buy. And this like dealing with humans out of just your own directed energy. And you don't have to loiter long, just enough to be subjected to items that may be something that you're into or something of your mindset. Could be arts and crafts, could be nuts and bolts and wrenches, and stroll through these things that you endeavor to interact with throughout your time here, and look at them indifferently without applying the energy and the impulse. And then leave the store with that one item that you had already made the decision for that you needed. And make sure it's something you need. Don't let it be something that you desire or just want. Make sure it has a purpose. Make sure you have a need for that. And I know that heads towards minimalism, but that's not what I'm trying to emphasize here. It can bring on a state of minimalism, but the point is going out into society and looking at people indifferently and feel the moment. Feel the energy that these people are projecting off, whether you know them or not, and especially with people that you know. Approach them without applying energy, such as their name and everything you associate to their name, and the energy that brings on, or the image that's in your head of previous interactions with an individual that you've had. Just observe things indifferently and disassociated, and feel the energy. Instead of using your eyes, and instead of looking at the exterior cover of the book, or even past interactions, approach things completely indifferent. And even items that are available in a gas station, store, and there's people around, and move through these places in the moment, and just allow yourself to feel the energy of those that are in your local environment. And it teaches you a new way, which is actually an old way and a very proficient way of not leaving residue of yourself places. Because you give off residue whenever you look at, let's say, a chainsaw, and you want this chainsaw. Well, by wanting it, observing it, and visualizing it, as being its owner, you're applying energy to it. And then suddenly you look at the price and you go, oh shit, this is entirely too much for this. And you leave, you still leave a residual trace of yourself on that chainsaw. Because you had done visualize and had done taken on the concept and the ideal that you were going to purchase this chainsaw and what you were going to do with it. And apply that to people too. When you're interacting with people, you can be, especially people that you've known for a considerable amount of time. Approach them completely indifferently, and you may learn something new about the other individual you're interacting with. Because whenever you're interacting with them with a projected state of mind or projected energy, then you're residually pulling up a type of energy that is applied to them. And you kind of adjust yourself accordingly to this person for interaction. Try being in a state of being relatively responsive, but without all the residual and interactions and energy that was applied to it, as if you are encountering them for the very first time. And you don't have to make it obvious. All you have to do is disassociate your energy from anything that you've applied to them and allow yourself to observe the person in a new state of just as if you had just met them. And 9 out of 10 times, I bet you're going to find that you learn something new about this person. Something that, because you've already had a predisposition of this person, you don't catch the micro reflexes, and sometimes you become so relaxed and without safety protocol in place because they haven't given you the reason to put one up. They're easily able to influence your energy as well as you influencing theirs. And instead of it being a new, in the moment, present time interaction, it's the past, that moment, and a possible future that you're applying to this person when you can exercise disassociating all those aspects that you've already applied to this person and see them and their energy as it is now in the moment and see them for who they are in the moment. And you'll start picking up things. And you can do this with animals too. Animals are very easy to work with when it comes to things like this. We project our energy on so many things during the course of a day, whether it be interaction socially, whether it be touching it, whether it be, your desire to have it or to interact with it, you're applying energy to it. And if you're not going to make a forward movement, or it doesn't serve you in the moment, then it's wasted energy. But it's still projected energy that leaves a residual effect. So, as an exercise, learn to pull your energy into yourself and disassociate your energies from anything that isn't a fundamental need. and you'll start watching things fade away, and you'll start seeing things that are useful and serve a great purpose or fundamentals start to enhance themselves and bring on a stronger effect. And you become a lot more practical whenever you've got this state of mind going too. Um, I think that people who find themselves on autopilot leave a condensation trail behind them. They don't care, or they're even not aware that they're giving off and receiving energy. It's the giving off part. Whenever that person interacts with anything or is visually is brought to mind, your energy will leave a residual there. Whether it's walking down the street, you still leave like a condensation trail of energy until you learn to contain that energy, disassociate it from anything that is not functionally necessary, and then apply it to feeling the energies around you so that you know your environment on a completely different level. And then it's not all visual, and it's not physical interaction, and it's even hearing. You start paying attention to things that are potential that you would apply your energy to, and not just listening for the sake of listening. People do that with music, and they're influenced throughout the entire day sometimes with the energy that the music is giving off, and it's pulling that energy out of them. So that energy is being dispersed. That's why people who are in generally a good mood will listen to a more upbeat, present sound, something they enjoy, and they get into the groove. And then the heartbroken will project massive amounts of energy to a song that seems relative to their situation, and they start with the potentials of the things that could have been, what might have been, and the song amplifies that state and pushes so much of your energy into that song and your state of being. Whenever, and I know, it sounds, it sounds kind of, I guess, cold maybe, but I understand losing someone you love and the energy that you will put forth thinking about them, doing things that remind you of them, seeking them out. But I found it best to just disassociate. And once you start listening to vibrations and frequencies of sound and other people talking, and if you're letting it out somewhere over a phone to a friend or whatever, that energy is still swirling around you. It's just replenishing itself with your energy. But if you can start disassociating, and if you want to listen to the love song and remember, at least be cognizant enough to understand that that is just a song, and its relativity to you. Whoever recorded it doesn't even know you. And when it was recorded, that was a particular state that the engineer and the producers will put you in to help you put emotion and energy behind the song. But believe me, after they get through with that song, they're not listening to their own music all day, and they're not that particular heartbroken person 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's just a song. But you will apply as much as you can to it to help enhance the energy that you had with another person in a relationship. Learning disassociation skills and being able to retain energy and not leave vapor trails and scattered random bursts of energy, which applies itself to something. Think of a practical, fundamental way of being and utilize it. And you don't have to stay in that state for forever. It's something to be utilized. And if you can find yourself comfortable in that state and you get enough of your subconscious and your cognitive mind to work together in that state of being able to move without applying energy, reserving the energy for things that are necessary, even potential danger. You know, I'm going to say that not only the people that are on autopilot are just walking around and idly doing whatever function it appears that they're doing, to a person who is well versed and trained in the dispersion and the retention of energy, and you get a heightened sense so that even if danger is apparent, the autopilot person probably isn't going to pick up on this unless their energy is involved in it somehow, like they have enemies or they robbed some drug dealer or friend or whatever. But if you don't carry such weight and energy and you're able to come to terms with yourself enough to know that your energy is not needed to be applied to everything, wants and desires will consume your energy as well as other people. And when you're around other people who are consuming your energies and drain you, learn to pull your energy in and disassociate any type of energetic tie to that type of person. And it will, once you become skilled at this, you can find that even some of the worst that want to drain your energy and want to utilize your emotions and your feelings, when you disassociate them for that particular energy field, it removes their ability to receive anything from you. And when you cut them off that way and they're not receiving what they want, they usually go the hell away because you're not feeding them. You're not applying the energy to them. And that pretty much goes with even an animal. You know, if you want an animal to pay attention to you, you apply energy and the animal responds. But whenever you reserve your energy and you bring it into yourself so that you're not projecting outward, the animal will probably not even be affected by your presence because you're not emanating any type of energy towards that animal. I found that works great with barking dogs and intrusive dogs and snakes. Even snakes I've worked with, and Rat, you know, we have Rat is I consider to be one of my best friends. But there's times when I withdraw my energy from Rat so that Rat can have its own energy and still identify with itself, such as certain snakes that I have. You know, I don't apply energy to them for them to react on. I pull all that energy back into myself, and I don't project anything. It's a completely indifferent state of being. And generally, with that, the snake's level of fear and its need to protect itself, it usually the snake is responsive to you removing applied energy. Sometimes I'll do experiments during certain parts of the day and certain parts of the night whenever Rat is sleeping and is completely in Rat state, and I'll project energy towards Rat. And the Rat, after the applied energy, and I generally project food and friendly interaction. And Rat will respond and usually come out of a sleep, and then it comes to the front of the cage door to either, get its treat or have some type of interaction. And I've got it down now where I can push enough energy out even when Rat is sleeping to be able to get Rat to respond. And sometimes I'll sit perfectly still whenever Rat is alert, and I will feel what type of energy Rat's giving off. And when you interact with humans, it's the same thing. It's a give and take of energy exchange. But you get lost in the true state of a person or an animal by projecting any type of pre-energy. Whether it be I want to pet that dog, or I'm scared of that dog, or I don't like that cat, and I don't want the cat near me. You can adjust your energy accordingly to get the animal or the human to respond. And there's not much difference between animals and humans, except for the fact that they seem to be more in harmony in a natural state with the construct, the matrix, than we are. We are completely, by mathematics of it, unsuited for our environment. And to a degree, I feel that we are absolutely unsuited to be at the level of responsibility that each one needs to take on in a society that can destroy itself in a matter of a day. And when you have world affairs where decisions outside of yours can be made that can completely wipe and remove your entire existence and miles of your local environment in a matter of seconds. Always know where your energy is. Always know where your energy is being projected or restrained and detained within yourself. And it will allow you to know exactly what type of energy that you're dealing with in any environment, in any situation. That's why people, when they go to the woods, they let down their preconceived notions of what they live in a city or a town, and nothing but trees and forests are influencing them. And that is a influence that has an indifferent approach to you. But it is life, and it is in movement, and it's in a state of movement. And I'll explain that by the state of movement. All things are in a state of movement. And the derivative of this construct is based on a mathematical it's a mathematical based program, and that's pretty much what I've noticed from observation and being in this world and working with such things, that everything has a certain equation to it, even when it's setting perfectly still. Because what you've got to keep in mind and understand about the constant and the persistent is that the universe will not waste energy. This particular construct will not waste energy, such as the luminaries, the sun, the moon, the heavenly bodies. They don't waste energy. They don't use their energy with abandon. And once you start seeing the form and the function of things, you realize that they're an equation. And I'm not talking strings of numbers rolling down in monochrome. I'm talking a coherent equation that the universe or this plane of existence has placed into something to allow it to be present. Out of sight, out of mind. Anything that's out of sight or out of mind, the plane of existence you're on, or the universe, doesn't have to apply energy to it to keep it in a certain place and to keep it idle. There's still energy and movement within that object. And anything that we interact with also has an equation, but when you start playing with something or working with something, the variables of what you're working with, and we'll use sculpting clay, whatever energy you're putting into that, and the amount of energy that you're placing into it has an equation. It's measurable. Energy is measurable, and it's measurable when it comes out of a human. You can measure the enemy or the energy from like an animal or an object that sets and vibrates at a certain frequency, and that is this plane of existence and the luminaries or the heavenly spaces. They also vibrate. Some things vibrate much stronger than others, and some things are constantly in motion, which changes its variables. And that's where the luminaries, especially now, come into play, is their effect on things right now is a very intense and noticeable effect. And that's to those that have eyes to see and ears to hear and are half aware. They are going through an equation right now, which is changing an equation that didn't have as much applied energy to it. But we're watching energy now. We're watching all of the luminaries and the sun and the moon and the frequency of this plane of existence all amplified and very present in a state that they are actually influencing the even beyond the subconscious. They are actually influencing what your state of being is in if you don't have any control over your energy, or you can't find a particular harmony, or you're not within the reasonable bounds of the energy that's coming off of these particular luminaries, and it will affect you, and it will cause change around you. And sometimes people, whenever it's this intense and this pronounced, start to become aware that, and on a small scale generally, that maybe the heavenly bodies do have an influence, some type of effect on us. And it does, and especially in a mode of, let's say you're increasing the energy of a particular alignment of planets. And because they're in that particular alignment, they're resonating a frequency that's feeding off of each other, and also it's being projected towards this plane of existence, terra firma, Earth. And that energy, when it hits you, will either, if you're unaware and highly receptive to energy, can cause you to do generally things that are not within the bounds and scopes of your general productivity. Some people get sick. Some people get energized. Some people get drained. But whenever the heavens are making big moves, and the equations, because energy can be measured, it has an effect. And if you can somehow find a position of harmony or receptive to that energy that's being projected, you could actually utilize it. And that's a lot of what some people that everyone thinks is in control of everything, they do. They watch the stars, they watch the planets, they watch the moon and the sun, and they calculate the Earth's position, and they calculate the position of planets and exactly where they're at and what their recognized effects are through historical writings or their own observations. But generally, we don't live long enough to write out a full procession. But we do have those that were intelligent enough at least to write it down, and so far it's been very accurate. And that energy, once you become aware and understanding of what it consists of as far as its frequency and its vibration, you can utilize the energy off of that. And the more that you work with this and you try and utilize the energy that's being projected at you, instead of fighting it or being completely consumed by it or affected, you're utilizing it to enhance objectives. And objectives start with thought, which outside of the human mind, which is in a general quantized state, you're able to interact with the energies of a binary construct. And it's changing the equation by the projection of energy and sometimes the harnessing of energy, and becoming the receiver and transmitter of the energy. So it's that way if you, let's say you have a need for something, and I'm talking a practical need, and you use and amplify your energy into uninfluenced states of the field and apply a type of visualization, but projection of intent into the ether of the field and thinking for the future self and communicating with the future self and allowing what you want to transpire, that is your need, and utilizing the energy from the heavenly bodies that are projecting extreme amount of energies now and directing that energy through you to amplify that which you're trying to manifest from the field. And when you're manifesting from the field, you're basically projecting into the uninfluenced particle or the ether. And once that uninfluenced part of the ether receives your energy, then it's become influenced. And therefore, with that influence, it starts to manifest. And whenever you're utilizing high ranges of energy to project into the field to achieve your need and the visualization, you'll find that it comes quicker, it's more solidified, and especially if it's a need instead of a want or a desire, will come to fruition without any type of residuals. And that's for a need, not a want and a desire. But that requires either you being able to feel and recognize the energy around you without anything influencing your energy, or without you projecting your energy to create it to be something that it may not be, but you interpret it that way because that's the energy that you've applied to it. And each day that you encounter a new day, whether that be in the night or in the general morning of people, whatever time they get up, this would be my daytime right now. Actually, this is my morning. I'm a few hours into my morning, and I can feel the environment around me and the energy in its present state. And that includes intrusive energies that need to be neutralized or just completely disassociated from, and rendering it without any type of influence, and staying focused within the mind to be able to work efficiently with whatever energy you're projecting and whatever energy that it is that you're applying to your need, your want. Now, the base code of this construct, the Earth, is an equation that continues to move forward, and forward as a state of mind, and it's not actually forward, it's stationary. Everything is actually within a stationary position with movement kind of like an axis. There's energy and movement, and there's a core that the axis of it, but the axis only allows the movement and the persistency of that movement to continually um, sustain itself. And that's kind of what the construct does. Uh, the constant is it's already set itself into a cycle, and it's a mathematical cycle. Um, it can be applied to the great clock, which is the one in the sky, or you can apply it to, if you're sideways, the Gregorian calendar, or you can apply it to a 13-month calendar. And like I said, this is my morning, and I have a completely different schedule because evening is the start of my day. And then whenever the morning comes, that is generally the end of my day, and that's whenever I seek rest. But it allows me to tap into a completely different state of energy in my localized environment, because most people don't apply themselves to that type of clock, and that's the natural clock, the heavenly clock, the one above you. And being aware of it, and being aware of, as best that I know, the modes and modulation, it's no different than the cycles of the earth. And right now, we're in a state of solar intensification, change. The variables on the sun are changing, and we're feeling the effects of it. And it's generally with coronal mass ejections that hit the earth, and that's what generally screws up your signal on your phone or your Wi-Fi, or sometimes if they're strong enough and you can feel them, then you know that your electronics is going to feel them too. And sometimes they react accordingly. You know, we could get hit with a mass ejection from the sun that could potentially shut down the current of electricity and the flow of energy to all of our devices. And at that point in time, we are a unelectrified society. And that could happen at any point in time, depending on the sun. But the sun is radiating in such a manner now because it's going into a new cycle that it seems everything is falling into its cycle place where it is repeatable, and it falls into its cycle, which becomes a variable, and that variable has cause and effect. So as the sun changes its variable, its mathematical state, or its state of energy, because energy can be measured, you can then grasp a better understanding of what's happening environmentally to you, and also with your cognizance, your thinking, and your thought. And whenever you're aware of your own thought and you're present, and the constant and the persistent motion of one's being, you'll understand that the present is constantly cycling. I don't want to say moving forward. I don't want to say it's even spinning, which is more relevant, that it would be a circular type of mathematics that is on a repeating vector, and that also falls into the nature of things that are fractal. And anytime you're dealing with divine proportion, you're dealing with fractals, um, pi, you know, sacred geometry, which also contains energy. The same as whenever you're playing a particular note that is correct within its harmonic and its intonation, it also associates with the geometry, a particular um, it's a mathematic, uh, almost like a schedule, kind of like when you're playing the music underneath the plate stand on it. You can hit intonation and harmonic to the point where you are creating that same geometry as what's on that plate. And that same geometry also is applied to sigils, symbols, and they will set, though they are still to the human eye, and generally nobody particularly notices them unless they're something offensive or horrifying. Then they'll put their safety protocols in and head the other way. But it has a state of practical equation by proportion that radiates energy by its form. Everything is moving, and everything has a measurable rate of energy that it sustains itself with. And remember, the universe does not waste energy. The plane of existence that you're on, it does not waste energy. And that would be the natural state of things. Take a forest or a jungle or a desert, whatever it may be. Its variable will only change according to the weather that it's subjected to, which can also be placed into a state of measurement because of energy. That's how they calculate the energy of hurricanes, tornadoes, and storms. It's still measurable and it still applies. As a matter of fact, I haven't found anything yet that I've encountered which that holds a relevancy to this plane of existence that doesn't have an equation that applies to the amount of energy that it's receiving for it to be in this plane of existence, or the amount of energy it's giving off for a function. And I've also noticed that in the natural state of things, and we'll use the growth of a forest, there is no energy wasted within a forest. There is no excess and generally no just natural decay. And then it's reprocessed, but it holds the same variable for season to season, through cycle. And the only thing that changes its variable, which is measurable, is if it's subjected to some type of weather. Whether that be intense weather or beneficial weather that allows things to grow. So one I wanted to kind of put in here real quick that I'd like to touch base with Ian at We Are Awake is grounding a human when a human takes like a copper wire and grounds themselves, and the effects that that has on uh, parasites, or is it possible that a grounded human is more resistant to certain types of parasites and certain types of energy because they're grounded? Or does the parasite by nature adapt and overcome and continue to um, feed off the human and utilize them as a source of nutrients or whatever it is that they utilize and what type of parasite it is? Or whether it's better to deal with them in an ungrounded situation like you do with the cleanse, or like I do with binging and purging and fasting and meditation. It's just a perspective. Maybe you can hit on that sometime. I'd appreciate that. I am aware of the parasites and the fact that there are parasites of a physical nature, there are parasites of a metaphysical nature, and there are parasites that are dimensional. And detouring them, you have to pretty much identify the parasite from what I do, and you have to eliminate its food source. It's like a person that is a parasite that just tries to feed off of your energy. You have to disassociate yourself from that frequency and take your energy, and it's almost like removing the food source. And once you've done that, generally whoever's trying to feed off of you will move on to the next person or the next situation, because you're not responding in a way in which it can feed on you, whether it be animal, human, or parasite. But everything now to me has movement, motion, and equation. In the waking hours, there are other states that things are a little different. And the waking state that you're generally in when you're cognizant is sometimes fundamentally easier to endure than certain states that you can actually achieve, and certain equations and energies that you run into environmentally and even entity or energy wise. You have to learn a whole new set of adaptation and a whole new state of comprehension of whatever particular plane that you chose to endeavor upon. But energy exchange for energy, that will always be one of the laws of thermodynamics, and it seems to be one of the fundamentals of this plane of existence. We're at an hour now. Thought I was going to have a guest join, but I don't suppose that's going to happen. I'll go a little further with this and keep an eye on the chat and guests to see if they follow through. The Native Americans used to have a metaphor or someone speaking. You know, some speak like water, some speak like iron, um, some speak like decaying wood. They would identify the person's word and what they've done with that word. And we always find ourselves to be content when someone keeps their word and it shows that they have words of iron that you can depend on. And if they don't, then they have words of air that just blow about. And that's not a direct insult, it's just an observation. I don't want that to be taken anything other than an observation. But that's just the way that humans are. They can be measured by their word as to whether they keep their word or they're true to their word or they follow through with any obligation or even reserve, because places reserve the right. And those words can be enforced by the person and make them iron, make them solid. And then there are other people that speak like air, and that's all you hear is a rustling of the air and a disturbance in it, and then it passes by. And that seems to be the general nature of a lot of YouTubers these days. I'm not sure if their cognizance and their endeavoring to persevere has been stifled by the cycle, the solar cycle, and the houses, modes, and modulation of the heavenly bodies, or whether that person has just lost the ability to apply energy and they are being redirected. And upon that, that comes into a state of whether or not you maintain okay, there we go, refresh, or whether you are like a lot of a lot that endeavor into YouTube arena. A lot of wind and a lot of air. But they don't realize, as I try to teach them, that they do have the ability to disrupt with sound and frequency on a way that they're not even aware that they're being changed in their projection, because when you subject people to certain frequencies, it seems that just like listening to a song on the radio or hearing some bad news or some good news, the frequencies at certain ratios actually affect the cognizance of a person. And once you've mastered this and you've learned how to utilize it, and even with subliminalism, then you can really apply yourself to being present in a chat and actually affecting people. Whereas I've heard everything from I'll beat your ass and exactly how hard a person can punch, and I'm thinking, well, he's probably 3 states over or across the pond, and you've managed to bring him or her to the point where they're wanting to kinetically engage with you, but that's not going to be possible for you. So the best that you can hope for is that you understand and develop frequency technology and utilize it to maintain a more constructive environment. Also, the frequency of subliminalism can be applied, whether it be visual or audible. It still has direct effects on the cognizant mind, especially if you can get your frequency in tune with variables that create certain states that even affect us in the natural constant of things. You can definitely definitely take a stance in a panel. I've yet to figure out exactly how to use it on a chat, but I do have certain suggestive way of speaking sometimes that kind of hits the subconscious, because it's kind of like a out of place object, and it can bring your cognizance to attention. And once you have attention to it, you've got applied energy to it, which is an exchange. And with that exchange of energy, you've left a certain influence. And you can also utilize the field, and you can project into the field if you're heinous enough and you want that type of karma. You can apply to uninfluenced areas of the ether or an uninfluenced particle to wreak havoc on somebody. Or you can also use it to bring them joy and happiness. But most people just aren't that aware of their use of energy and the use of their frequency, and how that applies to how they vibrate in the moment, which even quantum mechanics can make relative to the vibration of a string in string theory. Not that I apply to it, but the logic of it it makes sense to me, and I can understand how it's coherent to the state of our being. And I watched it transpire recklessly over YouTube quite a bit. But even that seems to be being affected or disrupted by the state of energy that we're receiving. I don't know if, not sure how many of you are feeling the effects of this, but if you would, in the comment section, if you get this far, if you leave a brief comment about how this cycle change is affecting you, or if it's affecting you, I'd like to hear from you, and I'd like to know, yeah, it's affecting me, or it's affecting me in this way. It doesn't have to be a paragraph, and it doesn't have to be 2 words, just enough for me to interpret that the changing in the atmosphere and the energy that we reside in is being felt, and is having an effect that's either state of being of people around you, or state of environment changing around you, atmospheric and energies, and even your own personal state of energy and how it's being affected. And just a brief comment, and I appreciate that. And I've went on for a little over an hour, which is plenty enough time for a guest to show up and jump on board, but apparently they're not, and I had planned on having interaction, or otherwise I wasn't particularly interested in doing a stream by myself. Sometimes a soundboard or a sounding board or reflective uh, persona allows me to achieve a little broader state of communication, because my communication is generally internal, and it's with self to know what I'm saying and to know what I'm doing with a cognizant and reasonable state of mind. So I'm going to cut it off, and we'll just put this one in our back pocket. I appreciate everybody who showed up on Cat and Dawn. I appreciate you so much for showing up on the rant that I had prior to this stream. Anybody who hears this in the future, hopefully it benefits you in some way, or allows you to comprehend and interpret energy a little better, or give you potential ideal. And with that, Axis is out.